Meghan offers her hand to Harry, and he's just not interested. Meghan gets out of the car. She puts the hand up. No, he doesn't want to take the hand, does he? Okay, so it now seems very clear that Prince Harry, a miserable, a shifty, and awkward Prince Harry, used this Middle Eastern fake royal tour with his wife, Meghan Markle, to scarf her. He was engaging in scarfing. Now, this basically means publicly rejecting, sending a message. And this was first picked up by Nancy and Stephanie Sidley, who, as ever, the Sidley twins of Twin Talks have the receipts. And you see there, Nancy says, Harry keeps scarfing Meghan on this trip and I'm here for it. Stephanie then pulled these two pictures and said, Steph might be onto something. Harry basically scarfed Meghan the entire time. And here's one of the videos where I think you can really see it sort of on the last day. Do you see that? So just looking closer, Meghan offers her hand to Harry, and he's just not interested. And it wasn't the first time that this had happened on the visit. It was one of many. And Stephanie has a deeper theory on this. She says Meghan Markle is not going to leave the royals alone without a fight. This has blackmail written all over it. They knew about Andrew's arrest, and the king knows Meghan has collateral on everyone. She has them backed into a corner, but not for long. Meghan fails at everything. And there's another example of the scuffing, the so-called scuffing. This was a new term for me, but I like it. The rejection here. Watch. Okay, so let's look at this closely. Meghan gets out of the car. She puts the hand up. No, he doesn't want to take the hand, does he? Does not want the PDA. Look at that up close. The hand, and she then clasps her hands and puts her hands in her pocket because she's so annoyed about the rejection. Yeah, I think there's a lot of evidence of this, actually, especially when you think about Harry's general demeanor. I mean, as the royal rogue pointed out, who is just the best at body language stuff, what living your best life looks like. And Hans, who has done some great stuff as well, posted, watching the body language between Harry and Meghan is full of tension. There's no warmth, no shared smiles, no natural affection. They look like they're simply tolerating each other. He seems happy chatting with others, yet they barely at each other. So, I mean, P. Diner, to me, the video evidence is really clear. Like, he doesn't want to touch her in public, and she kept trying. And there were a couple of moments where, like, she did manage to grab hold of his arm during a photo. But to me, this was quite telling.
Yes, I think it shows a lack of purpose for both of them. They clearly are not aligned in the work that they're doing. Something has happened behind the scenes that is showing a clear divide. And I think this is just the beginning of what Harry is going to start to do. He's going to start to be a little bit more aggressive about not wanting to adhere to what Meghan is requesting. I think he is starting to not want to give in to all of her demands. And I think this is a sign of Harry showing, I am not going to yield to you when I don't want to. He is upset with her. And I think even part of this trip might be because of Meghan, and he's probably not wanting to be there at all. But he knows that she would not have been able to do this without him. And I think it's a sign that he's going to start showing himself to be a little bit more standoffish towards Meghan and her demands. This is the beginning of what we're seeing, and it will get worse.
Yeah, I totally agree. I also think, P. Diner, this tour is a disaster too for King Charles, though, and I want to come to that in just one moment. First, though, Annabelle Fenwick Elliott, she's one of my favourite commentators when it comes to Harry and Meghan, I think summed up the fake humanitarian purpose of the trip perfectly. Watch this.
Today on The Crown Report, Don is joined by royal commentator P. Dina to discuss growing speculation surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle following their recent tour of the Middle East. What was intended to be a high-profile visit quickly became the subject of intense media scrutiny. From body language moments to separate appearances and differing messaging, royal watchers began pointing out what they described as visible tension between the couple. P. Dina notes that public tours often place enormous pressure on high-profile relationships. Every gesture, every glance, and every interaction is analysed in real time. While no official statement suggests any marital problems, observers argue that certain moments during this tour stood out. Dan adds that perception can quickly shape narrative. When appearances feel slightly out of sync, speculation grows, especially for a couple whose relationship has always been central to their public image. Still, it's important to stress that tours are demanding, schedules are intense, and isolated moments do not confirm deeper issues. Whether this was simple exhaustion or something more remains open to interpretation. What is clear is that the conversation around Harry and Meghan's public dynamic has intensified following this trip. For balanced royal analysis and the latest updates, subscribe to The Crown Report. Like this video to support independent commentary and share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below.
Guys, this time she's cosplaying as a working royal again. I wrote this article today about it for the Mail. Harry looks pretty miserable, doesn't he? They're in Jordan being humanitarians, and you just know it was too good of an opportunity for Markle Sparkle to not exploit. She is no longer the most despised member of the royal family. This is how I imagine her call to the publicist going. She's had 11 publicists step down, by the way, since 2020, so God knows who's in charge now. Oh my God, it's finally happened. Did you see the photos of Andrew? He looks like a startled weasel in the back of the car. Yeah, I know. Now is my perfect time. Get me on the first jet to somewhere profound so I can kick a football around with some kids. Make sure they're refugees. It doesn't matter where, but bonus points with Illinois, Will and Kate. That last bit was a bit unfair. She went to Jordan, a bit random. Apparently, Will and Kate have lots of ties to Jordan and they really love it there, which makes it even more a snub, but I think that's reading too far into it. Anyway, she's swanning around Jordan in a very crumpled, expensive trouser suit, doing her best Princess Diana impression. And I go into it in more detail in this Mail piece that I wrote. But basically, I think I would honestly rather another season of the Netflix show than loads of fake royal tours that I feel like we have coming up. We're next going to get humanitarian Meghan, and I don't think that humanitarian Meghan is real. I think Netflix Meghan feels and fake, but it's more real than humanitarian Meghan.
Totally. But we are going to see more of this because obviously Netflix Meghan hasn't worked out, and that's where there is this real danger for King Charles. Indeed, Tom Sykes in the Royalist Substack, who was the first to break the news of this visit, went further actually, describing this as a humiliation for King Charles and Buckingham Palace. But he's got the receipts as to why. I want to take you through this and then we'll get reaction from P. Dina. He writes, with Prince Harry and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, launching a high-profile and politically sensitive trip to Jordan just days after Prince Andrew's arrest, we now see a royal family in which King Charles clearly no longer exercises any control. Discipline has broken down, and Buckingham Palace appears unable to stop Harry and Meghan's quasi-royal freelancing. They arrived in Amman for meetings with the Director General of the WHO and other international officials, stepping out of their car in sharp coordinated outfits and moving straight into a full schedule of visits. On paper, the programme is charitable and private. In practice, it looks like an unofficial royal tour. At the exact moment the monarch is trying to steady the institution after Andrew's arrest. All this is playing out while the king deals with the most serious crisis in modern times, Andrew. Officers have only just completed a days-long search of Royal Lodge, his former official home, after earlier raiding his temporary address at Wood Farm. God knows what they will find. Thames Valley Police had already confirmed that they were examining claims Andrew shared sensitive information with Epstein while serving as the United Kingdom's trade envoy, and that they were separately looking into an allegation a woman was trafficked to Britain by Epstein for a sexual encounter with the Duke. Andrew has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing, but the combination of a disgraced Duke under arrest and a younger son staging rogue global tours confirms my view that the king is unable or unwilling to enforce strict standards. His health problems and cautious temperament means few insiders expect a sweeping reset while he remains on the throne. There is little faith that he will move decisively to remove titles, shut down confusing semi-royal branding, or force wayward relatives into private life. Harry and Meghan now run their own schedule, media operation and charities while still trading on royal identity to make money. It's just not sustainable to carry on with the royal family in which people with royal titles act independently of any clear institutional plan, leaving Buckingham Palace to watch rather than direct. Then, interestingly, Tom goes into some information about what type of royal family William is considering, Prince William wants. He says under William's model, titles and perks would flow strictly from work, not birth alone. Anyone carrying out full-time duties on behalf of the Crown, regional visits, overseas diplomacy, bread and butter engagements on a wet Wednesday in places far from London would be a Royal Highness and would hold a Prince or Princess title. So you're basically, in that scenario, at the moment, looking at Anne, Edward, Sophie, Catherine. In return, they would receive a defined income and a single clearly allocated home tied to that role. Those who choose not to serve as working royals would be treated differently. They would not use the HRH style, they would not receive state funding or subsidised housing, and they would not enjoy special privileges from the institution. Instead, they would live as private citizens, free to make money and live as they wish in the manner of Peter and Zara Phillips. The aim is to remove the blurred lines that currently allow relatives to enjoy royal branding while operating outside any structure, the very problem exposed by the Spare and by Andrew's downfall. So, P. Diner, very interesting information about what William is considering. I think he's completely right to do so. But do you agree with Tom Sykes that this Harry and Meghan visit unfortunately poses a serious issue for the king and makes it clear now that he has just lost any semblance of order?
I think it shows the king as weak. I think it shows him as someone who is not able to control his own son. He is not able to align the messaging of the royals because he has this son who is just doing willy-nilly what he wants to do with his wife, and they don't have the best interest of the royals. They're clearly only doing what they can for themselves. So I think it shows the king not in a good light. It doesn't show him as someone who is able to really hold his son accountable for everything that he is doing. He's just doing what he wants. So, I think if the king wants to be respected, if he wants to make sure that he handles this crisis with his brother and other things that are going to still come out, because we know it's not over, he needs to get Harry and Meghan in line, and he needs to do something that keeps them from just showing up, popping up, on some fake royal tour. That cannot be good for the real royals. What are they thinking? This is almost, I believe, an emergency. I think it clearly shows you need to remove them from the website. There should be no direct links to Harry and Meghan via the real royals. That's where you need to begin. And then these other things around titles later and, who gets a title, who doesn't, I think that is a good thing. But there is something that needs to happen right now, because I know they're probably planning more trips as we speak.
Totally. And it's also getting out of control, P. Diner, in terms of the public reaction. I mean, I know they're cretinous, but look at what the Republic organisation has been doing outside of Buckingham Palace this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, P. Diner, you keep talking just while we look at this.
Okay, yes. So right here, when we saw these billboards put up on the gates, that is just a beginning of backlash for the king. He will always be asked this question about what he knew, and he's going to have to keep addressing these issues, I think, for the rest of his reign. It would be in his best interest to just, I'm sorry, I feel this way. For a lot of people, they think this is not a good thing, but I think he should abdicate. I think there's too much going on that will compromise the current monarchy, and they have to have a clean slate. And we know that William and Catherine will be wonderful in this role. They need to just get rid of this horrible messaging, anything connected to Andrew, and start with William and Catherine to just get rid of this story, because as long as King Charles is on the throne, this will never go away. This messaging will elevate and get worse and worse. He's clearly not looking out for the monarchy as a whole. I think it's pretty selfish to want to stay on the throne despite all these horrible PR messagings with these photos and what he knew. And now there's stories coming out that the king knew about Andrew and passing on these secret documents to Epstein. He's not going to get away from it. And it's just staying on the real royals and William's future reign. I just think he needs to just abdicate.
Well, see, for me, I think we need to hear from Charles more. Like the silence isn't working because actually, P. Dinah, there was a piece of good news for the king this week because it actually turned out that it looks like he had been the one advocating for Andrew to lose that formal role. But because the king is just staying silent on all of this and just hoping, I think very naively, that it all goes away, no one was really talking about this. But I want to show you how Sly News revealed what went down.